If the world were merely seductive, that would be easy. If the world were merely challenging, that would be no problem. But I wake up every morning torn between a desire to save the world and a desire to savor the world. This makes it very hard to plan the day. A quote from E.B. White. Rebecca will light the chalice in the sanctuary. Those of you at home are invited to light your own chalice now. We gather this hour as people of faith with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope as a sign of our quest for truth and meaning in celebration of the life we share together. Before we sing the first hymn, let me remind our remote participants to leave yourselves muted. However, we want you and whoever is with you to sing with us as big and loud as you like. Make it a joyous experience. Please stand in body or spirit and sing the opening hymn, Earth Was Given as a Garden, number 207.
Earth was given as a garden, cradle for humanity, tree of life and tree of knowledge, place for our discovery. Here was home for all your creatures, born of land and sky and sea, all created in your image, all to live in harmony. Show to us again the garden where all life flows fresh and free. Gently guide your sons and daughters into full maturity. Teach us how to trust each other, how to use for good our power, how to touch the earth with reverence, then once more we'll Eden flower. Bless the earth and all your children, one creation make us whole, interwoven, all connected, planet wide and inmost soul. Holy Mother, life bestowing, bid us waste and warfare cease. Fill us all with grace o'erflowing. Teach us how to live in peace.
Good morning again. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist community of Cambria. We are glad you've joined us today. Our UUCC sanctuary sits on land that the Salinan and Chumash indigenous peoples historically inhabited. We honor their contribution to this region and give thanks for the opportunity to gather in faith on their unceded territory. Let us respect their legacy and protect their history as we occupy this sacred space. As Unitarian Universalists, we celebrate religious diversity and welcome all who journey in search of faith and spirituality. The UUCC is a lay-led congregation run by the democratic process. We invite speakers from different religious traditions and spiritual or scientific backgrounds to speak at our pulpit. We encourage presentations covering a variety of topics and areas of interest that connect with the UU7 principles. Today's service centers around the sixth principle. We affirm and promote the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. My name is Ted Key, and I am your worship associate for this morning's service. I would like to extend a special welcome to today's guests and visitors. We're glad you joined us this morning. If you wish, please raise your hand, and if you would like to introduce yourself or your guest. Okay. If you are not on the mailing list, please visit the UUCC website at uuccambria.org so that we can keep you informed about all of our activities. Members and friends, please check out what's happening. The e-blast sent to you every week. This is a great way to keep up to date with our latest news. If you wish to see this or any of the past Zoom services, the recordings can be found on the UUCC website and on Facebook. So again, good morning and welcome to everyone. The affirmation is both a recognition of the nature of this community as well as a promise to which we aspire. Let us now recite the UUC affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its prayer. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in freedom, and to help one another. Okay, so we have a little issue this morning with announcements and so on, so I'd like to point this out to those of you in Zoom land. If you have an announcement, you'll need to give me a call at the telephone number you see on the screen. That's 1-408-307-9617, and send me a message, and I will be happy to read it for you during the announcement period. We set aside this time for any special announcements that would be of interest to our UU community members and friends. Please keep your items short and to the point. If something needs more explanation, contact the person after the service. If you'd like to make an announcement, please raise your hand, and when Randy and I call your name, please step up to the podium or unmute yourself, then speak.
So after church today, right, we're having the conversation with the board. Bring up any issues or concerns that you have, and we'll give you a little blab about what we've been doing. Thank you.
It's in the drawer. It's upon us. We've had our first 2 nights, very successful, and we're having a lot of fun. And hopefully we'll see most or all of you there to enjoy the fun as well. So come out and see the Follies tonight at 7 o'clock, and then next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 7 o'clock at Vets Hall. And tickets are always available at the door. Okay.
What about the worship committee?
Oh. Announcement number 2, thank you. Oh my goodness. Got Follies in the brain. Worship committee meeting tomorrow at 4:30 on Zoom, and those members of the committee, please be there. And if you would like to join in, you're all certainly welcome to. Just give me send me a note on email, and I'll send you the link. So tomorrow 4:30 on Zoom, worship committee meeting. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, thanks for the socks that we have gathered so far, and keep a hold of your warm jackets or anything warm that you may be getting rid of, because we're going to start that winter warm clothing drive soon. Thanks.
Ah,
Okay, I have three short announcements. Today's fourth Sunday. We're collecting for CAN. It's the second month collecting for CAN, and it's very important we support them. They support our food bank effort. We're currently applying for a new grant, so number one. Number two, Saturday the 23rd is the annual Creeks to Coast cleanup, and I have reserved us a spot on Moonstone Beach. There'll be more information coming, but I need a small crew to help clean up on Saturday, September 23rd. And number three, I don't think we have a photograph, but the Operations Committee is holding a photo contest. We're looking for inspirational photos of Cambria to put on a postcard that will be mailed to every address here in Cambria, just as a way of letting people know we're here. So the deadline for that's September 5th, and please submit any photographs to Lori Napoli. Okay, thank you.
okay. I have one text, but it is for joys and concerns, which I will read then. And I would like to also announce that if you want to send me a joy or concern and you're out in Zoom land, please go ahead and also send me a text at that number, 408-307-9617. So the individual who sent me the text for joys and concerns, please rest assured I will bring that up for joys and concerns. Okay. Next week, Wayne Atto will present, Does Our Forest Have a History? Joys and concerns. Sharing together some of our personal and significant joys and concerns bring us closer as a faith community. We invite you to share the milestones that are deeply felt as a part of your personal life. Express a gratitude or perhaps offer an acknowledgement. But please be mindful and considerate of all who come to worship with us this morning. The collective flames of these candles embody all the joys and concerns which may have gone unspoken today, but are also deeply felt in this community. This is from Reinhold Niebuhr's book, The Irony of American History. Nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetime, therefore we are saved by hope. Nothing true or beautiful or good makes complete sense in any immediate context of history. Therefore, we are saved by faith. Nothing we do, however virtuous, can be accomplished alone. Therefore, we are saved by love. No virtuous act is quite as virtuous from the standpoint of our friend or foe as from our own. Therefore, we are saved by the final form of love, which is forgiveness. Let us join in a time of meditation, of prayer, and of silence. Let us seek the quiet and the calm, laying aside our struggles. And in the silence, may there be a reverence in our hearts, a thankfulness within our spirit, and a deepened understanding of the meaning of our lives. Let us enter the stillness. Quiet your active mind. Soothe your troubled heart. Connect with your incorporeal soul. Ignite your dormant spirit. Reach beyond your essence to find your inner peace. The second reading is from Jalal al-Din Muhammad Rumi, a 13th century Persian Muslim poet, jurist, theologian, and Sufi mystic. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. Please stand in body or spirit and sing, "Do You Hear?" number 112. Today, Andy Fagan will read Reverend Suzelle Lynch's sermon, Standing on Holy Ground. Andy?
Thanks, Ted. Just going to move this out of the way. As my daughter says to my granddaughter on occasion when she's having a meltdown, I'm having a lot of feelings right now. I think we all are. Anyway, I'll do my best to share this beautiful sermon with you, written by Reverend Suzelle Lynch. She's a semi-retired Unitarian Universalist minister and graduate of the Star King School for the Ministry. During 3 decades of social justice activism, she has served UU congregations in the state of Washington, Wisconsin, Texas, and California, most recently in San Diego, California. Prior to ministry, Reverend Suzelle was a communications professional for a robot company, an artificial language laboratory, and a big insurance company. I became acquainted with this sermon when it was assigned as a reading for my Wellspring program. We were asked to read this and address two questions. What religious beliefs ground us in the work we do in the world? And how do we see our connection with the world that calls us to try to do whatever we can to fix it? So, standing on holy ground, originally delivered by Reverend Suzelle Lynch to the Unitarian Universalist Church West in Brookfield, Wisconsin, on November 7th, 2010. Nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetime, therefore we are saved by hope, wrote theologian Reinhold Niebuhr. Theology is the work of building a house to hold our hope, the work of constructing the frames of meaning that give shape to our lives and our dreams, or perhaps the work of making clear to us the frames we have inherited from our parents and ancestors, our teachers and communities of faith. The metaphor of a theological house, a house for hope, is offered to us by the Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker, president of our Unitarian Universalist Theological School, Starr King School for the Ministry, and the Reverend John Behrens, former president of our Unitarian Universalist Association. Each part of the house, foundation, walls, roof, rooms, the threshold, corresponds to a different aspect of theology. Their book, which I'm going to donate to our library after this sermon, their book titled A House for Hope, The Promise of Progressive Religion for the 21st Century, gently and persuasively reacquaints us with our Unitarian Universalist theological history and grounding, and reminds us of our kinship with other progressive faiths. And we need this reacquainting and reminding because our faith is non-creedal, because we don't have doctrine or dogma or set scriptures to turn to as a way to remember who we are. We often believe that the only important religious material for us is our personal beliefs. Our freedom to engage the lifelong process of finding and refining the religious answers that fit our individual lives. But if this is all we do as Unitarian Universalists, we're forgetting something important. Our very freedom to believe is grounded in theological ideas that we hold in common, which have persisted in our midst for several hundred years. You've heard me speak often of our Universalist and Unitarian Christian forebears and their radical embrace of God as all-loving instead of the harsh and judging God of their religious neighbors. You've heard me speak often of their radical rejection of the idea that humans were depraved and sinful, and their embrace of the human potential for good. Instead of religion being used to keep people in line and prepare them for heaven, these forebears believed that the purpose of religion was to draw out the good in us so that we could serve as God's hands in nurturing a corresponding goodness in the world. During my childhood, many Unitarian Universalists embraced humanism, feeling that the advances of science and technology made belief in any kind of God no longer useful. But even so, we held more strongly than ever the conviction that human goodness and agency were needed to shape a world more peaceful, fair, and free. Today, we UUs are more diverse than ever in the nuances of our individual theologies, but in common, we know ourselves to be part of a human family where worth exists permanently in each member. And we know ourselves connected to something far beyond ourselves as well, an intricately interwoven interdependent web of being. This history and these persistent theological ideas are touchstones of our faith. They are where our eschatology is based as well. Eschatology is the branch of theology concerned with the final events in the history of the world or of humankind. It has to do with ultimate hopes and the horizon to which our lives are oriented. Rebecca Parker and John Behrens invite us to think of eschatology as the environment, the landscape, the garden, in which our theological house for hope is situated. It's an apt metaphor for, as many of us know from experience, the land on which we build can be a tremendous factor in the architecture or livability of a house. Imagine Falling Water, the stunning Frank Lloyd Wright home built in Pennsylvania, sited partially over a waterfall. Visualize the prairie sod houses or forest log cabins of the early European settlers in Wisconsin. These environments shape the houses, and thus the lives lived within their walls. In the same way, our eschatology shapes our values, and the way we live our values shapes our lives. I will confess that when I think of eschatology, my mind always turns to the Left Behind novels by Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins. These books tell the story of the end times, based on a particular evangelical Christian interpretation of the Bible's books of Revelation, Isaiah, and Ezekiel. In the Left Behind stories, the believers have taken up to meet Jesus in the rapture, and Armageddon, a great battle between good and evil, is taking place as those who are left behind struggle for their lives. The eschatology is based in the idea that human beings were created as perfect by God, but became fallen when Adam and Eve disobeyed and were cast out of the Garden of Eden. Only those who believe in a certain way will be saved and returned to paradise. Only these will inherit the new heaven and new earth that emerge with the second coming of Christ. Now, we may think that such apocalyptic beliefs are silly, but they have pretty profound social and political implications, because the signals that herald the new heaven and earth include war and environmental devastation. Those to whom this eschatology belongs have little incentive to work for the kinds of things that are precious to us: human rights, peace, or working against global warming. Their house for hope is not located in this world. It is based in the world after this one. Torn between the desire to save the world or savor it, they choose a kind of salvation that begins in destruction. For a very long time, I didn't consider eschatology important. I mean, I had my ideas about what would happen to the end of life, but I didn't pay much attention to these ideas about the end of the earth or where humanity is ultimately going. But I have been thinking about these things more lately. Only a few weeks ago, in my sermon on food and environmental justice, I quoted to you statistics from environmentalist James Gustav Speth about the ways in which we human beings are destroying the natural world we and all living creatures rely on for our very survival. Though it is hard to wrap our minds around the fact that there could be an end to our species or an end to all life on our planet, science is showing us that this is, in Speth's words, the world we appear to be making. What sort of eschatology might help us come to grips with the reality of global climate change, massive species extinctions, and environmental devastation? Where is the hope in this landscape? Rebecca Parker tells us that over time, progressive people of faith have shaped 3 major eschatologies, all of which move earthward, meaning that they all locate paradise on earth rather than in some faraway heaven or new paradise after this world ends. Parker writes, for handy reference, these 3 alternatives can be identified as social gospel eschatology, universalist eschatology, and radically realized eschatology. Each can be captured in a sentence. The first, we are here to build the kingdom of God on earth. The second, God intends all souls to be saved. And finally, paradise is here and now. Raised as a social gospel Christian, Parker says that the people in her church, wow, people in her church marched for civil rights, worked to end the Vietnam War, advocated for women's reproductive freedom and the rights of lesbian and gay people, among other things. Inspired by the vision that God's commonwealth could be realized on earth rather than heaven being a place they'd be able to go when they died, they worked for peace, justice, and freedom for all. The actions of the UU community in which I was raised were strikingly similar to those of Rebecca Parker's Methodist Church, but the underlying theology was different. We were humanists, inspired by our faith in the goodness of humanity to create a world which would be continuously getting better and better. Humanity, upward and onward forever, was the slogan of the times. It was a non-theistic understanding of the universalist eschatological idea that all souls would be saved. But we knew we had to do the work to make it happen. Our hands were God's hands, even though we didn't believe in God. And like our social gospel Christian neighbors, the horizon to which our lives were oriented was a far horizon. Out there in time, the idealized future would be realized. And our choice between saving and savoring the world was always to save it and to work at this. The eschatology that I want to most lift up for you today is the third one. Parker describes radically realized eschatology, which she summarizes in the phrase, paradise is here and now. A realized eschatology means that the horizon is not way out there, but is here now. It means our ultimate hopes are not to be achieved in the future, but are present now. For many liberal Christians, it is the world, in the words of Jesus, when he said, the kingdom of God is within you or among you. God is here now, awaiting our kinship and partnership. And radically realized eschatology, says Rebecca Parker, begins with affirming that we are already standing on holy ground. This earth and none other is a garden of beauty, a place of life. The earth is all we have and all we need. It is here and now, our paradise, our garden, our beloved home. Does this shift in perspective change how we live? Does it give us hope? For example, in the face of the ways in which human living is damaging the earth? The answer is yes. For when we call ourselves into this present moment, we cannot help but know beauty. There's beauty in this gathering of human beings. beauty in the sounds and scents of this room, beauty outside our windows in the natural world, beauty in the thump of our hearts and the rush of our breath. This life, this world, this earth is wounded, but beautiful and good. Instead of zooming past this moment in a rush to get somewhere else, we open our minds and hearts to the love and laughter that are here right now. And our prayer becomes one of gratitude for all that is. We untie our expectations and demands from the future and take joy in what is. Does this mean we give up striving for justice and peace, our recognition of and outrage at the widening gap between rich and poor? Do we give up our practices of caring and compassion for each, for the earth and one another? No. For we come to know this world as paradise when our hearts and souls are reborn through the tender task of living rightly with one another and the earth. The radically realized eschatology invites us to save the world and savor it. It invites us to stop striving as though the struggle for peace and justice and a healthy planet might someday end, and instead embrace the struggle as part of life's blessing. It is a letting go of the chronic exhaustion and sometimes despair of the tireless social activist, trading these in for the divine refreshment and renewal of gratitude. It means that saving and savoring lean on each other. They go hand in hand with one another. Coming from our gratitude inspires us to live our values, even if they will not save the world, but because they save us. They save us from despair, from resignation, from the sin of forgetting that we matter, because we do matter. We matter. It's as Rumi wrote, "Let the beauty we love be what we do. There must be hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground." A radically realized eschatology invites us to remember paradise is here now, and we, with all our imperfection, our fears, our desires, our relatedness, we are part of it. We help create it. I could give you an example from my life, but you have so many of your own. Think of a time when you treated another person as though they were worthy of love and respect, whether others thought they deserved it or not. Think of a time when you changed your comfortable habits out of respect for the earth. Think of a time when you allowed yourself to be vulnerable and seek help. Think of a time when you helped someone who needed you, even though it was inconvenient. When we live with our hearts open, when we have the courage to celebrate the diversity of humanity instead of fearing it, when we are generous and forgiving and keep our promises to one another, paradise is here and now. Tell me, what are the ways you kneel and kiss the ground? What is the beauty you love? We're standing on holy ground. As Niebuhr wrote, because nothing worth doing is completed in our lifetime, we are saved by hope. We are not saved by hope for a future world or a future time, but by hope in this world now. We have hope not because we or our faith are perfect, but because enacting our hope is the way we give thanks for all that our ancestors gave us. Because enacting our hope is the way we show our children the seeds of paradise that are hidden all around us. The seeds of paradise hidden in our struggle, in our joy, in our rest and play, in our relationships, seeds hidden in our commitment to the earth, in our recognition of each other's wisdom, and above all, in our love. Let us seek these seeds and sow them widely. Let us begin this day. Amen. Slide that.
Thank you, Andy. It was a great message. I couldn't help but hear the call of the hawk outside while you were giving your message. The morning offering will now be given and received. Please remember we are a self-sustaining congregation and provide all financial resources for our many ministries. We recognize the spiritual value of generosity and invite you to participate. If you are viewing this service remotely, please use one of the methods shown on the screen. Thank you. Our thanks for all gifts given and received for the work of this community. Please stand in body or spirit and sing the closing hymn, Here on the Paths of Every Day, number 312.
Here on the paths of every day, here on the common human way, is all the stuff the gods would take to
As we prepare to extinguish the chalice, let us recite the valediction. We extinguish the flame of this chalice, and we know that the light of truth and love and the warmth of this community go with us as we meet again. Please extinguish your chalice at home now. Now let us form a circle and join hands. Andy?
Come to the global meeting house. Sing the songs of others. Hear them sing yours back to you until you yourself are changed. Be a partner in hope, and whereas you live, help to make yours a house of hope for others, one where all who speak may feel they are heard, and where the voice that issues forth is one not of despair for the world's ills, but of hope for a shared future. Go in peace.